So, it is time for another live show, and so this is part 9 of our sculpting project and or puppet making project, and we're in the sculpting phase. Fortunately, my lamp is kind of falling apart on me. Oh well. So anyways, this is part 9. Now we've got a lot done on our puppet, a lot left to do. Before the show, I put some marks on here because I want to make this look nice, and also the inside of his mouth is kind of the inner part, the hole inside there is not very even, so I want to kind of clean this up. We've got to add fingers, we've got to add toes, we've got to add color, we got to do a lot, but I want to start with the mouth, and the reason why is because if you guys noticed last week when I was smoothing all this out, my fingers got really blue from the clay, and because of that, it's very difficult to work with lighter colored clays like the ivory color that I've got for the mouth. So in terms of an expression, I'm not going to really work on an expression just yet. I want to hollow this mouth out a bit more and make this indentation a bit more even. Oh, so Brian, you had some dental work done. Wow, that's not fun. Definitely not fun. I think Ron Cole, didn't you have a, was it you that, no, my brother-in-law had some teeth pulled recently. I think one of his teeth cracked or something like that, so yep, it happens. Alright, so here's our mouth. Now, what you usually do with puppets like this is you want to fill the inside cavity with darker colored clay. And so one of our previous episodes, if you guys recall, we did mix up some different colors, which are of different brightnesses. So we got our darker colored blue clay here. And of course from this we made a lighter color, but we ran out of that color early on. We didn't have enough of this lighter color, so I mixed up more, which I've got over here. And I think later on I might want to beef up these arms a little bit too. I think these arms are maybe just a tad bit too skinny. But like I said, we're going to work on the mouth. And the way you make a mouth, the way I've been taught anyway, is to hollow the mouth out as well as you can. You don't want to make it too deep, and you don't want to go through like the back of your character's head or anything. But you take your darker colored clay and you just kind of stick it inside like this. And there's different ways to smooth out this clay on the inside of the mouth. You can take your tool and you can kind of push it around, and maybe I can zoom in a bit so you guys can see, or at least maybe see a little bit better. See if I can get this to focus first, and there we go. I don't know if you guys can see with the light, like that. So you can take your tool and you can sort of just press it in there like this. One of the tools that I like to use is a tool I made from a dental pick, and I took a Delrin ball, one of the eyeballs that I would normally use for a puppet, and I heated this up with the propane torch, and I stuck it on there and melted that in place. And I like to use that to sort of push the inside of that clay around, and it makes a nice smooth surface on the inside of the mouth. And it's pretty easy to push it around too, and if you have any unevenness on the inside, you can spread this around and make it even, and it looks pretty nice, I think. So I'm just gonna go like that. Alright. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to add some teeth. And for that, I have some very old, it's got some dust on there. Let's clean that off first. Alright, so we got some Van Aken modeling clay, and this is ivory colored, and it's probably, I mean, this one here is over 10 years old, I think. And so one of the things that happens with clay like this when it's old is the oils kind of separate from the clay, and it gets to be a little bit messy. But hopefully it's not too gooey for me to handle. I'm going to use a tool to open it up like this. And I'm not going to take it all the way out of the package. All I need to do really with this is, and one way to keep your clay clean is if you're going to use clay for, let's say, for teeth, and this color is primarily used for teeth because it's not too bright of a white. As you can see on camera, compared to the eyeballs, it's a more subdued white, and so you won't get as many hot spots. So I'm just going to take my tool and I'm going to scoop out some of this with my tool, and you can't see it, but I'm going to put it on the table below me here. So take out little pieces. So I don't need much for the teeth, I just need a little piece. And I'll just close it back up. Keeps the clay dust free. Like I say, when you're making clay puppets, dirt is your primary enemy because of you know, if ever you do like a close-up of this character later on, and or he's speaking or something, if you do that, you'll see all these little dirty spots on there, and it's usually not very nice to see. So we've got our character design on paper. If you guys recall, here's the design. So you can see he's got fairly big teeth. So Brian says, what? Not cutting the back off the head and working inside of the mouth? Nope. Yeah, we can seal it back up. We can do whatever we want with this. Now there's different ways to make teeth. We could use this clay, or if we really wanted to make teeth that are impervious to animation, we could take this and you know, sculpt the teeth in there to get a good idea of what they would be like, and then pop them out, and then re-sculpt those out of something like Fimo or Sculpey, or even like, you know, Super Sculpey. Bake it and paint them, and then stick them in there later on, and that would make for teeth that won't have much of a problem when you animate them. Now it's more of a creative decision if you want to go that route. Sometimes when you animate a mouth like this and you make the ooh, you know, the O shape, you might want to see dark inside the center part of your lips. And some animators, when they animate, will actually pop the teeth out, you know. So that's one trick that they'll do. And so I'm just kind of making little pieces, and then I'm going to stick them near his face and kind of judge if they're too big or too small or whatever. Just kind of take my tool and flatten parts out, make it look like a tooth. And now the rear teeth are going to probably be about, I don't know, maybe half the size. Let's see here. So I'm going to stick it in there and kind of look at it and imagine, you know, 4 other teeth in there. Is that going to be too big, too small? So I think that's too big of a tooth, so I'm going to yank that out of there. Nope, nobody submitted anything. I don't think today's the due date. The topic is forgiveness, I think, if I recall. Nobody submitted anything yet. So here's a tooth. I think that'll do pretty well. I need to see here. Take a tool. Hold the tooth in place because I don't want to push it out as I press on it here. So there. It's a rear tooth. And you can go as wild as you want with these. Let's see. One person, Gary Bialki, one of my heroes at Will Vinton, you know, one of the people that I really liked his sculpting style. He used to make some really cool characters, or character designs, and some of them had some really wacky teeth. And when he would animate those teeth, and for almost every single frame, you know, the teeth would have a different shape to them. So the teeth had a real lively kind of animation to them. And forgiveness, yep. Has nothing to do with the elections. Nope. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with all that stuff, but yeah, I left a Facebook post, and you know, I have a lot of friends. Some of them are, you know, I have a lot of black friends. I have a lot of Trump supporter friends. I have a lot of people that voted for Hillary. I have friends that voted third party. I mean, I've got like over 5,000 Facebook, or is it 5,000 friends or something like that? Or I have close to 5,000 Facebook, followers and friends. So, oops. Right, let me see something here. Oh, got a little bit of a cat hair on my tooth. There we go. Yeah, I just think, I don't know. I don't know if my personal beliefs matter so much anymore. But I just hope that everything in the future goes well for artists and people in the creative world. I think a lot of what's going on politically will inspire people to make a lot more art. And one of my, basically the post I put on Facebook was that there are a lot of people that are really hateful out there, and I don't really agree with a lot of things that were said by some of the candidates, particularly against women and all that. I think that's just nonsense, and I think people should speak out about it. I don't think that people should be quiet. But a lot of people, you make mention of it and they say it's all a conspiracy and it's not true that people say those things. It's out of context and it's all a big lie and stuff. And you hear directly from the candidates what they're saying, and it's just not. I don't know. Somebody puts an apple pie in front of me and it smells like an apple pie, looks like an apple pie, tastes like an apple pie. It probably is an apple pie, But some people would say, no, that's a cherry pie. And you're just like, okay, whatever you want to believe. All right, so anyway, we've got some teeth in here now, and I think that looks all right. Hopefully, I don't know what you guys think. Now they're off center a little bit. I'm not worried about that. I don't actually mind that with this character because he is a mutant frog. So I think that this kind of off-centered look is kind of, it's kind of good. And let's see here. So what else about this character? Now we need to kind of give him an expression, I think. I think his expression is kind of strange. Maybe, what can I do here? Is he a smart frog? Is he kind of dumb? Maybe he's just, well. And should I give him a little chin here? I don't know. So many decisions to make. I do want to kind of smooth this out here. I don't care for that little angular area that I've added. This needs to be smooth. Same here. Even this out a bit. Zoom out. like a spider web on my block here. Alright, so let's see. So about these teeth. I think I'm going to raise this tooth up just a little bit. Give him a more of a bucky tooth thing going on. And so what else? So my design, it's got some darker areas. So what should I do? So his lips need to be a slightly darker color, which I might use. I don't know if I want to use the same color as inside his mouth. Might not look too bad though. Okay, so now making darker clay lips is going to be a hassle to animate, but not impossible. So maybe I'll give him kind of a look of surprise, or I don't know what I want to call it. Confusion. See here. More cheeks and less chin will push him into Alfred Hitchcock. So let's see here now. So we can add some upper lip. That's a cool idea, Ron. Have like a creature comforts dialogue. That'd be fun. Let's see. I've got an idea for an animation I want to do, so I don't know if I will animate him. So I might want to spend my free time on a project that I'm cooking up right now, so it's gonna have really simple characters, nothing complex like this, because this takes a lot of work to animate and a lot of time, and I don't really have a lot of time. I've got to sculpt another character or another head sculpture for a client, and so you can kind of see what he's looking like here. So I'm kind of like trying to manage my time creatively, because if I put I don't know, I just, this would be fun, but I don't have any kind of, I suppose I could do something with them for my film. I'm not sure. I gotta think about it. Oh, what's it about a ballerina? I think somebody asked. I made it in a quick shot. That's a cool idea too, Ron. Somebody asked about that in the forums, like, or was it the forums or on one of the comments on our videos? They wanted to have like a video on a tutorial on how to make like a ballerina puppet, or I didn't answer the question, like how you can do that, because it was one of those things where you can answer it, but the answer would be really complicated, and there's so many ways to go about making something like a ballerina puppet, and it's not easy either, because if you think about animating something, a character, if it's a human character and they're a ballerina, they have their toes are pointed and then sometimes they're flat, and so you'd kind of almost have to use a rig behind the puppet, and then that rig would be what holds the puppet up so you can do all the complicated foot animations. That's really the only way you can do something like that, and for a beginner I think that's really difficult to handle without having like a lot of sketches and things like that where you can really thoroughly explain how to pull that off. So here's how he's looking now. Let's see here. So I've got a paintbrush which I use for smoothing, and it's gotten really caked up with clay from smoothing things. And what I want to do is I have a plastic cup here, and I'm going to pour some mineral oil, just a few drops in here, off camera, and hopefully not spill any and make a mess. Which I'm pretty good at doing that, making messes. Okay. This out. So here it is. So we've got our mineral oil in the cup. And what I'll do is I'm just going to move our brush around in here. Now mineral oil is pretty cool because you can take Van Eyck clay and you can put it in there. You can take a lighter color and put it in here and saturate this oil with clay until it's paintable, and you can literally paint colors. Whatever color you put in there, you dissolve it and you can use your paintbrush and paint it over your character, which is a neat way to do things. But what I'm trying to do right now is just take and dissolve as much of that clay off of the bristles as I can. And I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and just rub it off. And this gets the clay out of your bristles really well. So if you find that you can't smooth with your paintbrush, that's what I like to do. So I'm going to take just a little bit of oil. I'm going to go over these lips. I'll smooth them out a bit. And hopefully make them look a little bit nicer. And I don't want the end product to be shiny. I'm just going to wipe that excess oil off in a bit after they're smooth. But I'm going to use this to make sure it looks neat. Over the belly. Sort of like this. So that's pretty good so far, and then for the bottom part we can just kind of go over it like this. And all this can be changed later, but I think getting the face in order that's one of the more important parts. There we go. So there's what it looks like for now. Hopefully that's bright enough. My screen shows it as kind of dark, so hopefully you guys can see all the stuff I'm doing. But now, as you can see here, we've got some darker areas under the eyes, and we got some nostrils as well. And for that, I want to use our dark clay again. And I'm going to push those in place where the nostrils would be. Two little pieces of our darker colored clay. So I had little placeholders, you know, for where I want them with my sculpting tool there. Press this, press it in a bit. And then the nostrils are going to be a slightly lighter color than what we've got. So I've got some slightly lighter colored clay. I'm going to make 2 little rings to put over the nostrils. So round loops, I guess, is a better term for it. And put that in place. Do the same on the other side, just kind of make a little snake. And then loop it. And let's see how this looks. Alright, not too bad. So I'm going to take one of my little tools and kind of go over it. Use my fingers. Let's see. Let me flatten these a bit first. Something like this. Get in there and round out these nostrils slightly. Oops. Something like that. Again, I can take, take my brush and get in there and just smooth everything out a little bit. Blend things together. All right. So we got some nostrils, we got some lips and teeth. And those kind of details make a big difference, like when you're just starting to sculpt, get your major forms in there. You got to kind of imagine what it will look like when you do this, because it changes everything. So what else? Now we can add, let's see, we've got under the eyes, we had some darker areas in our design, which are kind of like under eyelids. And let's see, so we got some more dark clay. So we gotta kind of look at what we've got and judge how thick we want these. So we kind of make a snake, and you can make them, make it slightly thinner and stick it on here like this. And then if it's too thick, make it even thinner. Use your eyes when you sculpt. You don't just like start sticking things on there. Kind of think ahead if you can. Experiment. See how things look with different thicknesses, or because all this stuff can be changed. Clay is not a permanent thing, and never get like too attached to what you're doing either. Like if you feel like you've put a lot of time into something, you tend to want to not change it afterwards. But the best way to get a good looking piece of art is to not be too attached to what you've created. So what I mean to say is, like for example, if I look at this later on and I turn it to the side and I don't like it, maybe because I want the mouth to protrude further out or something like that, I would have to consider cutting all that off, the entire face right there. And if you're gonna make a film or anything and you want something to look nice, you might regret it if you don't change it later. Or if you don't change it before you make your film, I mean to say. So Jason says, oh, hey, Andres. Jason says that the teeth change the face completely in a flash. Yeah, it really does. So you don't have to get too picky with stuff, but if you're making a film, it depends on like your time limits, your budget. Like I said before, I want to make a little short film, and I've got all these ideas, and they're gonna use really, really simple characters. So they'll have bodies that are bell-shaped and no legs. And I'm contemplating if I should do it where I animate animate it as a clay on glass piece, because I was thinking of using Krita to design backgrounds and then print them out on paper and then use the printouts as backgrounds on clay on glass. So no large sets, everything would be flat. The puppets wouldn't be completely flat, but they would be partially flat. Characters and maybe some props and things partially flat, because clay on glass is more like something like a 2.5D is what I think John Lemon used to call it. Mike Rosinski and John Lemon had all kinds of terms for clay on glass because that was one of their specialties. And they did stuff for Pacific Bell and the Yellow Pages. They had all these cool clay on glass pieces. Also, Will Vinton did a lot of stuff with clay on glass, like the Penny. I think Penny was one of them. And they did stuff for Disney. And you can tell a story with limited resources and space with clay on glass. So that's probably something that we can talk about, like when I'm done with this character in the future. We can talk about how clay on glass animations are done in stop motion. It's not very hard. Hey, Middle Kid Films. So you're saying, hey, check out my super short Play-Doh stop motion film. Let me know what you think. Okay. So you just started doing stop motion? That's neat. There's some really popular Play-Doh stop motion animations on YouTube. That's something that Don Carlson was mentioning. He's a big... he loves that kind of stuff, some of the simpler animations that are done in Play-Doh. And he wants to try to convince some people to use his Puppet Putty for that. Because he says it's, something that they can use. And him and I had a long conversation about that recently. So maybe after the show I'll check it out. That sounds pretty cool. So is this frog going to be angry? Is it going to be neutral? Is it going to be have a scared look? A dopey look? The eyelids and the eyes will really change how this character, how the expression comes across. A lot of it's through the eyes. As any Wallace and Gromit fan would probably know. Oh, okay. So you like the idea of Puppet Putty. Don is going to be making some of the soft formula again, because we stopped selling his soft formula, and he's all excited about this the proposition of making some more. And I think he's looking for like special molds to make those. And they sell these like silicone molds for candies, like chocolates and chocolate making. So he's thinking of using some of that, as well as just general baking, silicone baking molds that they use to make things like muffins and stuff in. But he found some that are long and kind of round, which I don't know if that's good or bad. But he's trying to get a cylindrical shape to match the way he had things in the past. So I don't know what's going to come of that, but I know he's working on it. So soft is pretty good. The soft version. Let's see here. So what color is this? That's the wrong color. So I'm going to put on some freckles on his face. Not entirely sure how this is going to look. I can either put freckles or I could put indentations in his face with a tool. I think indentations would work pretty well, so I'm going to use indentations and kind of texture his face up just a bit. Kind of give him that frog-like texture. So this tool I think I got from, this is a handmade tool I bought off a website so many years ago. I use this tool, it's just basically a wire and a dowel rod, and it's epoxied in place. And I don't know if these are like acrylic balls on the end, they're really small. I like to use them in eyeballs, and like if I'm sculpting a full-scale person, I use it in the tear ducts, you know, because it's round and small. You can get it in a really small space like this. Yeah, an adolescent frog. Kind of thinking I like the little shapes I see on his mouth here. Just a little, you can add some detail in there. If you look at your sculpture when you're sculpting it, there's little tool marks and little forms that kind of pop out, and if they look neat to you, you can just make those forms slightly deeper, and that will, you know, if it looks good, you can keep it, and if not, you can just remove it. I think something like this would be pretty nice. And these little, maybe mouth lines or something. I don't know what you want to call them. Creases. I think that this here needs to be slightly bigger. Alright, I'm going to take my brush, get in there, smooth it just a bit. As far as this part, I'm kind of liking this line here, so I'm going to accent that a little bit. So when you get into these like final stages of your sculpture, at least with the face part I am here, the rest of the body has some work to be done, but you want to play a balance of tool marks and smoothness. So you don't want it to be completely smooth, you don't want it to be completely textured, you want it to have a balance, and finding that is usually part of the art, and it takes experience to know what looks good and what doesn't, or at least to your own eyes, you know. Like nothing is really ever kind of set in stone, and you can't really make everybody like your work, but you want to be happy with it, so that's the important part. Be happy with how it looks. Some of these shapes, you know, I think this looks pretty balanced for now, I would say. Alright, so there we go. So Randy's asking about lighting from the side, so there you go. too bad. So you can see a little bit more shadows there. Let's see from this side. Yeah. Pretty happy with that. Okay, so what's next? Let's see here. So middle kid is asking how long did it take to create? And this is going to be our 10th hour. Let me see, what time is it? Can't see the clock. But when we started, it was 9 hours. So after that would be 10 after this show. But if you watch the previous episodes, we made the armature and we mixed up the clay, all that good stuff. Okay, so I think that the hands should be. Let's work on the hands for a little while. So the hands are very important. If you guys remember, last time we worked on this, we put only 2 fingers on here. But the way you make fingers, I'm going to tell you guys one more time, is you just take your, in case you guys didn't see, you just take your clay and make a snake, and then you press your tool in the center to make a little snake mouth, like this. And that mouth is what goes over the upper and lower palm areas. So usually when you do this, sometimes the snake part is too thick or too small. You want to make sure that the finger is long enough before you actually permanently stick it on there. It's another thing. So something like this. And it will attach, and that way when you bend the finger back and forth, it's less likely to crack than if you were to just stick a piece straight on there. So maybe I can kind of show you guys what I mean. It would be kind of cool if you had like little spikes or something, little spiky hair in the back. Or big ears. All kinds of stuff that would be cool with this character. But so here's a finger. And if I just try to stick it on the palm like that, and I bend it back and forth, I could try to smooth it in at this point. But even after smoothing it, it's likely to come off, with repeated bends. So that little snake mouth extends the clay over both sides, and it allows for the clay to sort of stretch there as opposed to pulling off of the palm. So let's see here. Make another snake. Stick it on there. So I'm not really sure if, I've got different length fingers on here. I'm not worried about that. What I'll probably do here is make a measurement off of my drawing and kind of see, if these fingers are too long or too short. But they're going to definitely be too long. You want to make them slightly too big so that you can cut them down to size. So this one here is probably about the right size. This one's too long. But in general, you want to make your fingers a little bit too long so that you can cut them back. If you make the finger too short and then you try to just add clay to the tip would break during animation really easily because of the same reason. Sticking it on the palm flat would also not work well. So anyway, make your fingers longer than it's supposed to be. Make your snake. Make sure the finger's not too thin as well. This will be our pinky. Just gonna stick it on for now. I'm not gonna do any major sculpting yet. Just gonna apply all the fingers first. Yep, we can make him into an evil frog if we wanted to. Again, just kind of make our snake. Now this palm might be too small on this side. I might have to add a little bit of clay here first. Stick a piece of clay to the side like this and just kind of smooth it in first to make a really strong attachment point there. Smooth it in over here. And there we are. Stick that in place. Like this. Now for some thumbs. And also his belly is going to have a lighter colored area. A lighter colored piece of clay. Let's see how much more time we have left. It is about 10 minutes. Wow. Time really goes by fast when I'm sculpting, it seems like. I don't know if it goes fast for you guys. But I'm always kind of, I always feel like there's some kind of a time machine or something. Like every time I start sculpting, time just disappears. Alright, so I'm going to make some thumbs. Again, everything is the same. Every finger is the same. The thumb is usually a little bit far forward though, so when you stick the thumb on, you want to make sure that it's not exactly to the side of all the other fingers. You want to have it slightly forward. And you'll notice that I made it a little bit fatter than the other fingers too. So most of the time thumbs are fatter, right? If you look at your hand compared to your pinky. So I'm just going to kind of stick it in place. I'm not going to sculpt it yet. Just going to make our other finger. The last thumb. So yeah, for that. Okay. Right, so slightly further forward. Smush it in place. And then you can start to sculpt the hand and just kind of blend all these fingers in place. And in the palm, you want to make sure there's a like a little rounded area underneath the fingers a bit. And let's see here. So if you need more clay, you know, take little pieces of clay, and this part would probably be a little bit more meaty. So add a piece of clay in there. I almost feel like I should sculpt these off camera after the show, or before the next show, because it's kind of hard to sculpt the shapes at a distance without having this in a better position. At least according to, in front of where I am right now, it's hard to see what I'm doing and show you guys really. But for the most part, I'm gonna just take my finger and cut off the thumb a bit so it looks right. Now in my design, I've got fingers that have like these little suction cups on the end. So I'm kind of contemplating, do I want to add those or not? And so I'm gonna just maybe do an experiment, see what one looks like. Let's see, where did my tool go? There it is. That's kind of small. Take the end of the brush and maybe indent this here. So it might look kind of neat. I'm not sure about animation wise if having thumbs like that would be doable. I think that would be hard to maintain that as a shape during animation, but I don't know. You gotta kind of balance that too, you know, like you gotta think, is it too complicated? Is it not complicated enough? Or detailed enough? Can it animate well? Does it look nice? So you gotta kind of judge what you're doing throughout the sculpture with regard to all those things. So what else now? Okay. So this finger's got to be a little bit shorter. His index finger. I gotta cut my fingernails, they're getting really long. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of look at the back of the hand now and make sure all these fingers are totally cleaned up from the rear side. Something like this. And make sure the shape looks good. One of the things that I always do is I always tend to make the fingertips kind of pointy without really realizing that it doesn't look so nice. Like it's better to have, if you're making like human shaped fingers, it's kind of nicer to have a little bit of a round curve to the tip of your fingers. A little bit larger and rounder than the rest of the finger. Because most fingers, you know, they do have, like your thumb, you know, kind of it bulges towards the end, so it's something to consider for aesthetic purposes. So they're not so like noodles or something, or little pencils or something like that, where you've got like a pointy tip. So all this that I'm doing now, I'm going to have to smooth out later. But I just want to clean this up since I have the character turned in this direction. Clean things up, make it look neater. Okay. And I haven't even added toes yet. It's gonna need toes. So just for the sake of kind of curiosity what this will look like, I'll just kind of stick a couple of toes on here, maybe. This one a little bit bigger. It's gonna look pretty neat. I might want to accent his little legs further on down the line, but let's see here. Kind of give him a little bit more definition where that fold is. That's something I'm going to want to do later to make it nice and neat, but just kind of mark it for now. Then this hand, gotta smooth out a bit. And of course the finger length has to come down just a tad. As well as the thumb. So I want to make sure I don't cut off too much of this thumb. I want to make sure it's the same size as the other. So I'm going to use my caliper dividers and stick it there. Make a mark. There we go. All right. Okay. So Ron is saying sculpt the suction cups in a rigid material. That's a smart idea. You could do that. Yep. And then Brian says cheat the cup part to the front palm side a bit. Yeah, and it would animate fine. That's true, I guess. And Janet says you saw Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange, have I seen it? Is it a movie? Or you mean like Doctor Strange Love? I'm trying to think. I know there's a movie called Doctor Strange Love out there. I haven't really seen too many modern movies. Most of the time when I see films, because of our son, we go see like cartoon films. Oh, it comes out in 2017. Okay. Well, then of course I haven't seen it. It's not 2017 yet, but I haven't seen any previews or anything. And Middle Kid Films says, so when does the pirate movie come out? Well, the pirate film is just a short film, and it's already out. It's called Zombie Pirate Tales. It's on our channel. You could watch the full film. I think it's in a playlist. It's just a short film. I didn't pursue that beyond just a very short film, because when I finished that, I realized I didn't have enough space, and because I wanted to do some really ambitious things with that, and I don't have a lot of people that will help to make it. I'm sure I could do a Kickstarter or something like that, but I think I'm gonna focus more on more simple films, simple film work, sculptures, stuff like that, because it just takes so long to do and so much time that when you're doing it, when you're making a stop motion film at Aardman Animations or someplace like that, there's enough people that you can make it in just a few years, or even a couple of years if it's not too complex. But when you're doing it all by yourself, it's really just not easy to do. If you're getting paid to do it, though, like if somebody pays you and there's nothing else going on in your life, and maybe you don't have kids, and a lot more is possible. Like when I first started Zombie Pirate Tales, I got a lot done. I could get up in the morning and just, I had my business, which kind of runs itself because it's over the internet, right? So I was really free to work on my projects, and that was like a real ton of fun in those days. But having a family and all changes a lot. Changes what you can do and what you can't do. Oh, okay, a new Marvel movie, Doctor Strange, came out 1 week ago. Yeah, they come out with so many of those films. I'm kind of excited to see Rogue One, this new Star Wars film. Definitely gonna see that one, but I hope that the characters are not. I hope they kind of studied the philosophical aspects of it, like the previous films. There's like Yoda and all that. That's all based on Buddhism, and I can tell already in the new film, the blind Asian Jedi character, I don't think they ascribe to those things, So I'm kind of like, what will the philosophy be? Will it be different? Is it going to change how I view the first films? Because it's like Luke kisses Leia in Empire Strikes Back, and then he finds out that it's his sister later on, and you're just like, oh. So you watch Empire Strikes Back and you're like, oh man, he's kissing his sister on the lips in a romantic way, and you're just like, So I hope that the director will kind of keep the previous films in mind in a better way than George Lucas did. If you know what I mean. I mean, I like George Lucas and all, but some of the things he did were, it was kind of, I don't know if his judgment was that great in some things. I still like the films and all. But as a whole, everything is kind of... Like, I still don't know what metachlorians are. What is that? Some kind of genetic thing that only certain people get? And they find the force or something? Never quite got that. But anyways, it's been 1 hour, so we are done with our live show. And hopefully you guys enjoyed sculpting, with me, and hopefully this character we can wrap up in the next maybe 2 episodes. I'm thinking. I don't think it'll take more than 2 hours to finish him. Just gotta add like lighter colored clay here, kind of add some toe details, finish up his hands, and maybe make his arms, like I said before, a little bit thicker. But I think we're almost done. I think we're... Oh, I should probably add a tongue in there next time too with this color clay. I got some orange that I think would look good for a tongue. So I might show you guys how to do that next time. Alright, well anyways, thanks for coming by. Stop by next week, same time, same place. Alright, see you guys all later.